So I want to go ahead and bring this question to you. From what you see from your standpoint, do you see some of these men who are traveling abroad? Are they somewhat entitled or not, in your opinion?
So I can only speak to the men that I associate with. So the men that I associate with, like who are expats and who live overseas, they've been married before in the States. So they've usually have gone through tough divorce, and
No, they already
so
been through hell.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Damn, Purdy I don't need no one to save me. I was born to be the greatest. All that time in that basement, all that time isn't wasted. Rapping getting faded. I just wanna tell my mom that I made it. Just wanna be the topic of the conversation. Used to rock the gold plated. Now I'm wearing gold chains like I'm famous.
The westernized America's modern women, and let's go ahead and throw it out there. We're gonna talk about the black women. Let's just go ahead and get up on it because that's usually everybody's gripe, right? So, are men really traveling abroad because it's easier to holler at foreign women than it is to holler at black women? Now, if anybody knows me, I'm married to a black woman, got a daughter, been with the woman for 10 years and everything, right? But I've been rejected and also, granted by a majority of black women. So what is going on what's working overseas with some of these cats, or even yourself, what's working overseas that's not working here? Is it really the women and this whole hyper masculinity of black women, or is it just lame gang?
No, I think there's some truth to that. And I say that to say because what I found was even if women didn't want to specifically talk to you or whatever, at least they were friendly. Now, if you go over there and you're lame, you're going to keep trying to press on a woman even when she's being nice. And that's the kind of stuff that you don't want to do, especially in another country, because you ain't trying to get hemmed up. But if you went over and you talked I just found everybody friendly. And I'm not going to lie to you. I probably didn't have too much trouble. But I'm saying that everybody I talked to was friendly. It was like you can smile at a woman and you got to smile back, and it was genuine. The femininity, something else I wish I had gotten more film of, because I wanted to put this out as a video, but I wanted to put out a video where I showed you like the couples that were there, right, from that region, and just showed you the how feminine and soft these women were with their men. And not all the men there were like the local guys, right, the Mexican guys. That's where I lived at recently, right, in Mexico. The Mexican guys weren't always the best looking, but what you noticed were they were men around their women, and then women gave them that natural, just look like natural respect, femininity, softness. So I am kind of what AV said. I kind of am more like, and I'm not talking about going out of the country. I'm saying anywhere I am, whatever city, state, country I'm at, I'm more like I go where I'm appreciated, not tolerated, And I think that's the difference. So is there something to that? A little bit, but I want to make sure I'm careful to say that I understand that women here in the States feel like they've gone through a lot too. But I always hold men to account on my channel to say, hey, look, you got to look into yourself. You got to work on yourself. If you sitting there at home behind your computer, or you trying to be a lame ass dude going to the state because you just don't want to deal with women here and you ain't did none of the work, then I'm going to say the same thing to you as I'm going to say to these women out here. Like, you got to take some accountability for who you are. And I unfortunately in the YouTube streets, you got to wrap that message inside the message sometime to get it through because they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But I fully believe that there is something to it. And I think that's why brothers are running there. But again, I'm going to go back to the point. You got to do the work on yourself, because if you go there, and I'm not even talking about, I'm not going to even use the term lame like Mr. Cario did. I'm just going to say is a man, if you're not set on your purpose, then you're going to fall for some things that you shouldn't, whether you be there or you're here. You know what I mean? You're going to fall for stuff because you just haven't learned to just be a man.
It doesn't really matter if a woman is masculine or combative, right? Because I find that there's been a lot of women in my life that have been quote unquote masculine or combative, you know, based on their appearance, based on their reputation. But when they get around me, they kind of, you know, acquiesce. They kind of soften up a little bit. And this has happened several times in my life. And I find that a woman wants an opposite to a man, right? So a lot of times these masculine and combative women are forced to be that way because they're around, a lot of bitch ass niggas that are just, simps, and they're just real sensitive, and they're applying what they find attractive in women into themselves. So they're a little bit more feminine. So now the woman is forced to be the man in the relationship. Now, if you about your shit, like Sean said, you about you putting in the work and shit, you on your purpose, you on your mission and shit, and you unapologetically masculine, a lot of times women will acquiesce to that type of energy. But on the flip side of that too, me being quote unquote masculine has diminished my numbers and my chances of getting with women because women now are incentivized to be masculine. Feminism and all this shit, they incentivized to do that shit. So now when they see me and they know they can't get over on me, my numbers have diminished. Like, again, I missed the 90s. I'm 48. 90s, all you had to do was be handsome and shit and clean up. Now nigga gotta, do a little bit more work. So at the end of the day, in the States, I truly believe because they're more incentivized to be more masculine and be feminist and shit like that, it's a little bit more difficult. But at the end of the day, most guys don't have the luxury to travel outside of the States. They want to stay here. You got to be and focus on being a man, be unapologetic about it. So that way you can meet someone that's going to complement that energy. That's where the yin and the yang comes in. When a woman is being a certain way, you got to be the opposite. Vice versa. When a man is being feminine, a woman's going to be masculine. So that's the main problem. A lot of these guys don't know how to be a man or masculine because they're too busy watching, they're listening to the single mother, they're watching the television as opposed to trying to figure out who they want to be and just being that.
You are Mr. Look, if she acts like this, it's your bad. you'll let her know if she's disrespecting you, that's your fault.
That's on you.
Because you stepped to a woman disrespecting you, or you should have saw long ago that's not the one that you jump at. So, in your opinion, is it our women, or is it like AV say, how you carry yourself is going to determine how this woman is going to act? And is there a disconnect when it comes to today's men and the women today, where it's actually hard to approach now?
Well, I'll say this. There was a YouTuber, I don't know if he still does videos, but this guy named Mr. Limba Channel. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy. But he did a video once and he said that women listen to one or two things, society or their man. And so what happened was that stuck with me because I was like, that's very interesting. And the thing is that you got to understand is that the women out here in the West in America and all this other stuff, those women, all of them have a guy or have had a guy or will at some point in the future find a guy that they're going to really be interested in, and they're going to be super pleasant. They're going to be super cooperative. They're going to treat him like a king. And so what happens is, what I tell guys is that you got to understand is that it's not where you're at specifically, it's who you are where you're at. And then so what happens is that a lot of times with guys in America, they're saying, man, well, I'm having a hard time with these Western women. Now, the reason why you're having a hard time with the Western women and you might actually have an easier time overseas is because, for example, I say it like this. I could approach a girl and she could curse me out, which has happened before, like on plenty of occasions, or not necessarily curse me out, but give me like a rude type of vibe. Right. I know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that, I go approach girls, know how to talk to girls and all this other stuff, right? And then there's other girls I approach, talk, and everything is cool, we vibe and all this other stuff, right? Now, the reason why that girl will give me that rude approach is because collectively, the men here, right, are interacting with her a certain way. So collectively, the guys here are weaker. So when you go overseas, collectively, the guys are more masculine, which is why that their society has trained the women or taught the women to be this way, be more feminine. So what happens is that the problems, this is what I tell guys, that the problems we're having here is a direct correlation to how us men collectively are in the West.
Behaving, right?
Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is what I'm saying, where the issue is not a one-sided thing. It's intertwined. And so this is why I tell guys that, you know, if you have game, you're usually not going to encounter that type of energy when you're dealing with women on a consistent basis. You're going to get the opposite. But the guys who are kind of, you know, don't know what they're doing or probably have issues with it, they're going to encounter the opposite. And so this is why it's understandably so that you're going to have a lot of guys that's like, man, these women out here are crazy and they're acting stupid, because in their reality, that's what they're getting most of the time. But they're getting that most of the time because collectively, most guys are being weak. So for example, there was a girl that I remember, I was talking to her at this party or whatever like that. And she told me, she said she was supposed to go on a date with a guy and she flaked on him. Or she said that she kind of just like, yeah, she said she flaked on him. I said, why'd you flake on him? And she said, well, I changed my plans because the last 3 guys that I was supposed to go out with flaked on me. You see what I'm saying? And so usually women are the ones who flake. Men usually don't flake like that. But what happened is that more guys have started to become like women, so they're flaking like women. So now the way that men are acting, that impacts all of the other men around the situation. So us 5 on a panel, if we were to go outside and talk to a girl, her response to us usually is a response to the collective of all men in our society.
They're ruining it for the real niggas out here. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
In a video I did about this whole situation, I stated one of the characteristics that I kind of noticed in like a lot of these men who talked, who banged on the Western women or whatever, just seem to be really entitled. They're doing the same thing that the women are doing now. They're complaining about, like, you know, women don't do this no more. It's weird because it's like we switch places. Like most brothers be like, no, screw it, I'm gonna stop dating, you know, black women. And now you have them saying, I'm just gonna go ahead and date foreign women. So it's like, wow, we doing the same thing, all because most likely you're not getting casual sex. So I want to go ahead and bring this question to you. From what you see from your standpoint, do you see some of these men who are traveling abroad, are they somewhat entitled or not, in your opinion?
So I can only speak to the men that I associate with. So the men that I associate with, like who are expats and who live overseas, they've been married before in the States. So they've usually have gone through tough divorce, and so
they already been through hell.
Yeah, so they've already been through hell, right? So, you know, so they either, you know, like I know a brother, he's in Dominican Republic. I know another brother that's in Thailand, another brother that's married in, you know, he's married in Colombia, right? And so I just want to kind of go back to, you know, when you mentioned about the sisters, right? So yeah. It's more or less about the westernized sisters. So you have the westernized mentality in the UK and in North America, but brothers are going outside of the country to find black women, like Afro-Brazilians in Africa. You know, I know brothers that are in Ethiopia. I know brothers that are in Tanzania. So it's not that they don't want to deal with black women, it's the westernized ideals of the black woman. And so what it is, I guess not necessarily, I guess what is deemed easier, if you will, is because in those cultures, they still value the father in the home. They still value the men. And so in our society, and, you know, not to diminish what all of you guys have said is true, but there's also an add-on to that. There is the promotion of not promoting the man in our society. So, like, you have the westernized woman saying, oh, I could do bad all by myself. I don't need a man. I don't need a man. So when brothers are going overseas, they're not hearing that. So they still want that, you know, they still want the melanin. They just want the melanin with peace.
I'm going to go ahead and throw this one at Sean here. Now, interestingly, he was talking about how the men just continue to run into, I don't want to say ratchet, well, we'll just say, you know, the undesirable woman that's
low quality.
Yeah. Okay. Low. Shit. From what you've seen, why do we, us men, you know, our men continue to keep going to environments where they're running into disrespectful black women?